Hi, Sandhya. Thank you so much for joining us today at Distash. My name is Prachi, and I'm honored to have you on today with us, and also excited to see that Santosh is being nominated for the Oscars. How do you feel?
I mean, great to make the shortlist. I'm not nominated yet. That's the next round. But making the shortlist is, it's a big deal to get down from 80 plus to 15. So that already feels very good.
Yes, and also it's incredible to see more and more women, especially in the director's seat, in the writer's seat today. So I think you're a great example for many other people around us, and especially in the South Asian community too.
Well, the film's got a lot of women in it as well. So
Yes, it does. Yeah. It's a very powerful film. And I wanted to ask you more about how you chose to kind of showcase the world of casteism in India through the lens of this young widow and through this lens of a police officer as well.
Well, it all was a very sort of organic process, It's kind of how I like to work. It started off as a documentary idea looking at violence against women. I was researching with various NGOs in northern India, and I was seeing some, horrible situations. And of course, a lot of that does involve lower caste girls who are the sharp edge of that type of violence, and a certain level of a lack of justice that goes around that, and all those structures that keep that in place. So I was starting to try to explore that in my research, and then found that, like in a documentary way, it was very difficult to approach that because I wanted to do more than just show the problem. I was trying to get inside the violence somehow. And it was only in 2012, a few years later, when I saw the images coming out of like nationwide protests after the gang rape case on the bus, and the outrage that followed, that there was an image that came of that, which was of some outraged female protesters facing a female police constable. And I saw that police constable, and I just thought, oh, she's how I tell the story. I tell it through her, because she is at both ends, in terms of the violence the power she has and she doesn't have. She's them and she's not them. So that became my in, basically.
And especially one scene for me that was very powerful was when she's in the woods. It's the time of Salim's interrogation, and she's going to the bathroom in the woods. You see the crow come up, and my mind actually flashed to the beginning of the movie when you're told about the crow and how Raman's soul won't get rest until the crows eat the prasad. And kind of from that, I saw that as the catalyst for her change in the film. What is something that you want the viewer to walk away from?
That's funny, and got all of it. But it's nice. It's nice that you mentioned that, because that's the joy of filmmaking. Is that the joy of filmmaking is the echoes and the traces that all relate back to one another over the film. In light ways, in sound, in a look, in a symbol. So there's a lot of that in the film. So in a way that I feel you could watch a film several times and discover new things.
Yeah.
For me, probably the most important shot of the film is the couple at the end of the film we see on the opposite platform as the train passes, and without giving too many spoilers away about what they represent and who, and they are both ghosts and a memory, and they're also, most importantly, the symbol of hope for me of the film, of what a relationship between a young boy and a young girl can be, and that innocence and that sort of purity of that love that could be against all these dark forces which are prevalent in relation to male-female relationships, all the violence, all the pain, all the, all of that. I just wanted one counterpoint to that, and I wanted that shot to be as sublime and as stunning as possible. So, and I was very grateful to my DP Leonard for managing to pull that off, and everyone else who gets involved, my gaffer, my costume, finding the right outfit to make that shot work.
So, can you speak more about the character development throughout the film and also how you got to work with them? Because these are powerful characters. Each one of them probably took so much dedication. So, I just want to see it from your light as a director, too.
I mean, regarding that role, I think what the pleasure of life is, and you find that so much in India in particular, is that there's no real problem that two diametrically opposing things exist at the same time. Like Sharma ji does see a younger Santosh, a younger her in Santosh for sure. But there are also other things at play because humans are complex, and there is solidarity between women against this very patriarchal system, but there's also a darker side to what a female relationship can be, because female relationships are also complex. It's not just sisterhood. So it was really important for me to have that relationship tell its lights and its darks, and for all these things to exist at the same time. I don't find that contradictory almost. And I think that while to speak to that complexity in film, obviously our story needs to have a certain simplicity to make sense and be coherent and lead the viewer through a film. That needs to have a certain clarity. But I think that the tapestry upon which a film lives, or is the tapestry of the film, the DNA of the film, there's so much room for shades of grey and complexity, and there's so much you can live in the film without needing to choose, but there's a tapestry in which a film can live, which can be very, very rich. So I suppose that what I was after, both in the landscape of the film and in who these people are, no? Because we're all complicated. And I thought it's especially, given these two female leads, especially important for me to have a film in which women are making interesting moral decisions. That they have interesting moral dilemmas to make. You
see, this movie is rooted in deep Indian culture, not only the good, but really also showcasing all of the bad in our social caste system, in the corruption, in all the crime world as well. How does it feel to you to have this movie being in the shortlist for the Oscars that is so deeply showing a different side of India, something that you don't always get to see in the good parts of the world too?
Yeah, look, I mean, I wasn't employed by the Ministry of Tourism, so I think that the idea is to make a film which is not, which feels honest, and which Indians going to that cinema can sit in front of and say to my face, actually, that does not feel true. Right, then I can have a discussion, but I don't think that hasn't been the response so far. The response has not been, I feel this is exploitative. Of course, there will always be some propaganda lobby that comes out of you are showing the wrong side, or that will always exist, and it's not really. But I think, in all honesty, if people talk with honesty and it's not politicized, the actual film, then it's what Shahana said about it, is that rather than pointing fingers, it sort of holds a mirror up to us and it says, okay, well, where do you sit in all of this? What are your allegiances and lines and limits in all of this? And I think what's been fascinating also is screening the film outside of India, so much, like from Tokyo to Poland, and to understand that these issues of corruption, of violence, police violence included, of impunity, these are all things that people are responding to everywhere. And it may be more visible, it may be more closer to the surface in India than in some of the other places we're screening at. But this is definitely not something this is definitely something that's hitting a nerve with everybody.
It's so powerful because of the emotions that it pulls out of you. You feel the frustration, you feel the hatred, you feel all of the things that she's going through, especially at the culmination of the film too, and where she feels, what can she do? Going into the train, going into that scene that we spoke about earlier. So can you just speak about more of the emotions too behind the characters and how the viewer is going to be feeling as well?
Yeah, I mean, I won't give too much, no spoilers, yes, of course. But I think the really important thing for me is that, there are a lot of ideas in the film, And there's a lot to be talked about the film, but it's not a film which I view as like just like an intellectual film. Growing up with Indian cinema as well, film is an deeply emotional medium, and that's how I operate, and that's how I make the decisions I make generally. So it was always about being in tune with exactly where Santosh is, and feeling very deeply. That's why the film had to start for me where it starts, and not once she's in the police. It had to do that. Even there was discussions about length and, can we just start later? It always happens in development. It was really important to me that you have to see her, meet her where we meet her in her story, because there is this search for status that is taking place through the whole film, to regain the status that she's lost as a wife when she becomes a widow. And I find that whilst holding on to her grief, whilst trying to prove herself, whilst getting empowered, is just so incredibly interesting. And Shahana was able to sort of hold all of those things at the same time. Again, like I was saying,
absolutely.
Those things. And of course, some things are rising more. I wanted to have her ups. I wanted her to have her empowerment, and she has learned a lot from her mentor by the end of the film, even though it's been difficult.
And just a question for you about your journey as a director. I know you started in the world of documentaries, and now you've done this very powerful movie. What's next for you?
I am writing another fiction.
Okay.
And just trying to find time to write. I'm writing that. I just like to get a draft of that out next. But I'm open to whatever form the story dictates is what I will do. But yeah, this one, hopefully, my next one will be fiction as well.
And one more question for you. What's your message to people who are looking to get into the world of writing, directing, younger females, South Asian people as well? What is something that you would say to them in their journey along the way?
I mean, look, I've been plodding for a very long time. I graduated film school a very long time ago. I believed in everything that I've done. I've made those choices carefully because I think I have the power, I have the love for that project to see it through to the end. I've never made anything cynically or never made anything just like as a career move. And each thing I've made, I'm very proud of and has done very well. I haven't made a huge amount of things, but each thing I feel very confident that I can stand behind it. So I would say, don't do things cynically, don't second guess your audience, do it from the heart, and be very, very, very patient.
Yes, that's very true in any career. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Sandhya. And I think for our viewers, Santosh is an incredible movie. It's a moving movie, and I am excited to watch it again with all of my friends, my family. So watch out for it. I think December 27th, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.